Hey everyone, it's Sarah, the elder millennial.
And this is Bill, the infant boomer. Welcome to Strengths on Fire, the podcast for strengths enthusiasts who want to have fun while leveling up.
Get ready for a mix of powerful insights, unexpected stories, and plenty of laughs along the way. Hey Bill, you want to light these strengths on fire?
Sarah, let's light it up! Oh, hey, Sarah, what are you doing?
Hey Bill. Okay, I have to tell you about this Starbucks drink that I have. Okay, I've been dying to tell you. I've been waiting till we were recording.
That looks
I had
horrible.
a coach friend.
Horrible.
Well, I had a coach friend who I helped out, and so she sent me a Starbucks gift card, which is so nice and generous. And not only did she send me a Starbucks gift card, but she put on there an order. And I love this because I don't go to Starbucks all the time. I'm like a make my coffee at home in the Keurig. I could drink gas station coffee. Like I just drink black coffee. I know I'm not snobby in that way. So when I go to Starbucks, I don't ever know what to get. And I feel lame when I'm like, I'll just have a regular drip coffee. And they're like, a fancy drip? I'm like, no, just like your brewed coffee. So I was so excited when she was like, hey, this is what you need to get. So I kind of read it, kind of did it. I drive to Starbucks today and I go to read it. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's a word on here I don't know. Is this a typo? So I'm at the drive-thru and they're like, hi, welcome to Starbucks. Can I take your order? I'm like, yeah, 1 second. I'm like Googling this word. I'm like, okay, it's a real word. How do I say it? So this is the order. Iced Doppio espresso in a grande cup with blonde espresso and pumpkin cold foam on top. I don't know what a Doppio is. Doppio. Never heard of it. Have literally no idea. The coffee was good. I think I'm not really a sweet person, so the pumpkin cold foam was a little too sweet for me, and it took a while to get down the coffee because I swear it was like this much cold foam. So anyways, I feel like an explorer today. Like, oh, look at me with my fancy drink.
Trying
and
all
using
new.
words I've never used before.
I love it.
Bill, you don't drink coffee.
See, I was gonna drop that bomb for our listeners right now. Where
Yeah, no, I wanted to get to the punch fast.
Yes, I've never had a sip of coffee. And that is because I just don't like the smell of it. The smell of it. I don't know why. Is that wrong? Is that wrong? Do you think?
It feels a little wrong. I mean, I think the way most people drink coffee these days, this does not smell or taste like coffee. You know, it's so sweet. It's basically like an ice cream drink.
So when you see me,
you could wander into the macchiato of it all.
Got it. Well, you could, when you see me drinking on our podcasts, right? And I've got a cup. It's always tea.
Oh, it's not Jack Daniels?
Not generally, although shout out, sponsored by Jack Daniels.
Don't say that. We are not sponsored by them, and I will not be giving credit until the money is in the bank.
Jack Daniels, if you'd like to sponsor us, right? I'm just saying we would
There would be nothing better than to be like, oh, my CliftonStrengths podcast is sponsored by Jack Daniels.
Because I don't know if I could advise that.
Ali,
I think you're weird enough on your own, Bill. I can't imagine what this would sound like if you were drinking Jack Daniels.
Ali, do you think if I said when you drink alcohol, your strengths get sharper? Do you think that would? I don't know if that might work or not. It could be a problem,
I think
right?
Maybe blurrier might be the correct definition.
Well, blurrier for the people around you, but man, you think your strengths are? You think you want to know your strengths? Let's have a couple ounces of Jack Daniels.
Well, we have talked about it can turn the woo up. You give a little alcohol to the woo, and that really, for me at least, I'll speak personally. Yeah. My woo really turns on fire. You get some booze up in her. She is there to mingle. She wants to know the people. I'm always like sitting down with strangers, like, tell me your story.
Right. That's good. That's really good. Well, here's my Starbucks extension to your cup. Yesterday you called me and I was actually at a Starbucks.
Right.
Not only
With
was
Allie.
I at a Starbucks, I was with our guest today, seated at a table. And while I was bouncing around and Allie was filling out some other stuff, I went and got a tea up at the front. And they have a pumpkin chai that's out now. And by the way, we're all for, if Starbucks, you want to sponsor us, we'll take your money.
Absolutely. I will drink Starbucks every freaking day on this podcast, and I will try every drink that any listener sends me if we can get some dollars in the bank.
Exactly. But it will not be pumpkin chai. Or they're
was it not good?
That's why Starbucks, we love you. Don't, I don't want to, but.
They say different strokes for different folks.
And then they made it less sweet because I'm not a huge sweet guy. And then it came home and I realized this morning, some of it was still in my Yeti. And there is something about a creamed Starbucks chai after a night of sitting. It was, it was not I had a moment. I was thinking, most of my teas, this has no cream in it. It's just a tea, a delicious, this one comes out of Hawaii. Wonderful, fun. Yeah.
You're so bougie. You're like, I
have my moments.
No big deal. It's not that Earl Grey. This one comes from Hawaii.
I have my moments, right? Allie's been to some of our strengths-based client parties, right, in the back. Allie, would you say bougie? Bougie? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. She says it is
The best
bougie.
of the
Wait,
best.
okay. Can we just stop? You have strengths-based client parties in your backyard?
Yeah, you don't do that?
God. That's so cool.
We bring, we'll bring out, we'll send invites. Allie actually printed our invites, right? So we send printed invites that have pictures and say, hey, we're doing this. And the idea is we bring people together, usually the money people at the companies, right? So the C-suite or the HR people that are paying the bill. And we bring them all together because we want them to be able to look at other people in the environment, right, in the workplace, but also in the Reno area where they're using it. And if we want to talk about strengths during that night, we provide all the food and the wine. And if we're talking, hey, how do your strengths fit? How does this work at your company? Great. If we don't talk about strengths at all, and we're just having great food and we're laughing and there's a little strengths discussion at the end, maybe, that's cool too. We want to bring them together and let people share about how the strengths get used.
Okay, I know that I'm hard on you a lot, Bill, but I just have to say that I think that is so cool. There's the community building aspect of it that I love. There's also a wonderful confirmation bias of hey, look, all these other people here do it. What I'm doing must be right? I see people like me doing this and maybe they can get ideas and I'm sure they're all like, oh my God, I love Bill. Oh, me too. It's probably great for you. As if your ego needed to be bigger.
Right. Well, I'm just so happy you finally admitted you're hard on me. I mean, that feels good, right? And then, but the other great thing is, and when we have these events, people are talking to Allie too, or they're talking to, we make connections for employment and other ideas. So, I find it a really, really cool way to thank the people and that's really how we pitch it. We do it as a thank you dinner, surrounded by strengths people. And that's really what it is. And if we talk strengths, great. If not, it's okay.
Wow. I think it's so cool. I'm just in my head thinking how can I do this? I'm devising a plan here. You
see, I give away all my secrets and then everybody takes them and then other coaches run with them. So,
yes, and you have an abundance mindset. So you truly believe that is doing good into the world. And the more coaches doing great things, the more abundance will come back to you, right?
Well, and as Sarah's throwing her parties, I get an invite. So I just want to go to the Sarah Collins backyard strengths-based outreach and thank you party. I want to see how that gets put together.
Yeah, I would love to put it together. Maybe I need to hire our guest, Allie, to help me strategize how to do that and not be a complete dumpster fire at it because my activator theme might get too far in front of me.
I'm going to send you one of the things she did for us. I'm going to send you the invite. I think we have a couple left from the last party. I'll send you that so I'll take a photo of it, get it over to you. So
I love that. I love
just saying, because that means we get to talk about the incredible talents of our guest today, right? I can't say enough about our guest today, right? Having years of time, lots of time together, including the fact, and I love pointing out that our guest today was the first person I called when I wanted to be a coach. And that was because of her business strategy mind, her ability to step in and do so many creative ideas around what I needed to do. She's a problem solver. She's a person that I love working with. She is a person that solves not only the big problems, but the little ones, because she knows they're going to be big in a while. And we do a lot of worksheet work together. She also coaches businesses like I do, and that has a symbiotic relationship that we may talk about here in a little bit. There are just so many good things I can say about Ali, right? Ali, what do you want to say about what you bring to the table? Talk about maybe your work history, or how did you get where you are, and what is it you do today? Because while I get to revel in it, our listeners probably don't know. And Sarah's like, wait a minute, she does what? So let's hear it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a big question. And thank you for your kind words as always, Bill. I think that you probably hold the record of people who have made me blush and feel entirely bashful, like I want to hide. But I also appreciate it.
I do that at our backyard parties too, right? I'll announce her and I'll be like,
sure.
oh, if anybody, and she's like, oh God, oh, please,
Yeah.
and yes, yeah.
Another margarita, please.
I really got to get an invite to one of
Give me
these
a minute,
parties.
We'll talk.
Good parties. Yeah. So how did you get where you are, and tell us what exactly what it is you do?
So my background is actually as a brand designer. So I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. I started my first business when I was 23, and that was a branding agency. And so I kind of always knew growing up that I was going to do something different, and I wanted to be my own boss. And so it wasn't too long out of college that came to fruition. And so so my roots are in my like formal training. What I went to college for is for graphic communications, graphic design and marketing. But my first business was a branding agency. And what I loved about what I did was I worked with a lot of small businesses, and I loved being able to hear about their dream and what they were trying to create, and then play a role in that and making it, a reality. And then over time, that sort of started to evolve, because something that I, realized in branding was that my job was to not only help to, kind of figure out like what the identity was of this business, but it was also to help them sort of differentiate their business in the market, right? Like everyone is trying to stand out. And that's especially true for small businesses, because there are a lot of people who say they do what you do, right? And so, so something that I started to notice just as I evolved in my career was that you could do a lot from the visual standpoint to differentiate a business and help people stand out, visually, like let's create a flashy truck wrap or like a beautiful brand, and that will automatically start to set you apart. But what I noticed was that
I'm sorry, I was just pointing at my brand. It's like,
oh, okay. I was like,
I thought he was like,
you
pause, we're having a
disappeared and had
problem.
Finger up. I'm like, should we call
No.
someone? Or
no, I was getting out of the way to go, look, you mean like these brands right here? I love it.
Yeah,
So
like
yeah,
those
yeah.
brands right there.
Exactly. Yeah, go
so
on.
I noticed though that part of that the problem was that they might look different on the outside, but internally a lot of them were having the same struggles and the same problems. And a lot of the times what they were offering to the market wasn't actually different. And so they were having a lot of the same problems. And so, so years down the road, I became what's called a pumpkin plan strategist. So I'm certified in a method called the Pumpkin Plan. It's a book written by Mike Michalowicz. And basically it's the strategy of how do you do something different. And it's a strategy of finding your sweet spot in the marketplace. And so I would say, like, I like to tell people I sort of like learned what I do backwards, because I started with branding and then I realized, you know, the importance of having, you know, that strategy. And now I deliver it the opposite way, and that I help businesses first figure out what their strategy is and how to line out all of those pieces internally and then apply the brand.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love this.
that's what I do.
I'm envisioning like you were making candy wrappers and then you tried the candy and you were like, the candy sucks. The wrapper's beautiful, but the candy doesn't taste good. So you're like, now I need to figure out how to make really good candy. And so that now you're like, okay, here's how you make really good candy, and then we'll put a beautiful wrapper on it.
Oh my gosh, that can I just have permission now to steal that?
Absolutely.
Because I love
Absolutely.
that analogy. That's 100%. Like, yeah, at a certain point, it's like I love you, I love your business, and also like it tastes like garbage.
There's like this weird flavor in there that's really unsettling.
Oh my God. I don't,
Working.
I don't know. Ali has helped make our branding and our wrapper really, really pretty, but she also has helped us be hopefully a little more tastier to
Yeah.
the clients, right? So
Yeah.
can you touch on maybe some of the other stuff you and I have done? Everything's on the table in this podcast. So anything you've helped me with that you think has made us a little more palatable to the clients.
Yeah, I mean, well, and that, you know, so part of finding your sweet spot, so it's made up of three components. So one is your top client base and really understanding who you're a great fit for. And so we have done that work, and that is a huge part of where strengths comes into the picture. And actually, you know, Bill and Renee, and Renee is, I would say, like the counterpart to all of this, and that she brings, you know, the strategy side, and Bill brings the, you know, the relationship side. But anyway, between the two of them, that was where, you know, that's where I used strengths, you know, to identify who is really a great match for your business. And then so learning that about, you know, Bill and Renee, I found like that was, you know, sort of like this beautiful like harmony of like they have, you know, this strategic side, they have the relationship side. Bill, I would say really succeeds in the he does one-on-one coaching well, and also I would say excels also in the like speaking and leading large groups, and he can, you know, bring corporate groups of 50 plus into a room and like create that cohesion. So it's, you know, with identifying your top clients, it's, you know, it's all about learning how to match that up with like who the business owner is and kind of what their structure is. So we use strengths and use that work to also look at who's a really good fit for BDSC.
Yeah.
And then so that's the top client side. The unique offering side is, you know, kind of an extension of that, and a little bit of what I just, you know, talked about is that, you know, once you identify what the unique or who your top clients are, then you look at what is it that's unique about what you're offering those top clients, and what makes, you know, that win-win. Where is that overlap of like, you know, like I said, Bill is really good with bringing large groups of people together and creating that cohesion and helping getting people talking and communication flowing. And like, that's a really great fit for a lot of who are his best fit clients, which are people-centered organizations like well-funded nonprofits and private sector businesses who really care about their culture in their businesses. And so, you know, kind of bringing those things together, that's where we've helped Bill find focus, you know, in the business and where that overlap is. And then the last piece would be systems. So that's kind of the last piece. And actually, there's a little reference behind me of like this this Venn diagram. I don't know if you can see it, but the last piece are your systems. And that's something that we've worked on going for BDSC, which is how do we deliver all of those things, right? So we know that we're a great fit for these people. We know that our unique offering is this. And then how do we deliver it in a way that's efficient and profitable for the business? And so so I would say, even in like the last year, we've had a lot of focus on developing those systems. Like we've created a roadmap for BDSC, which is how do we, it's a visual way and sort of a guide of how we take people through a growth process. And that it, shows their clients up front, this is the way that we work, which is like you can expect a 3-year engagement, ideally, that we're looking at this long term. Like this isn't just a one and done sort of engagement, but we're in your corner. And over the next 3 years, we have this roadmap that's, showing you how we're going to meet you where you're at and then where we're going to help you, arrive. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Oh,
So
Ali, you're hired. You're just hired. That's all I'm going to say. Let's just
Okay,
get
I
you on
just
board.
want to clarify for the audience. BDSC, Bill Dipple Strengths Coach. So if people didn't know that acronym that we
Yeah.
were saying, that's Bill's company named
Yeah.
after the man himself.
Right. Collins Collective. Thank you. And
Exactly. We love self-naming here.
we love it. We're all in. We're woos, right? We are high woo. We make sure people know it.
We
Just
are.
saying. So,
Now,
yeah.
Ali, can you do me a favor? I love hearing how your business got started. I love hearing the pivot. I have your strengths in front of me, so I am seeing all of these connections. For the audience, can you tell us your top 10? And if you can do it from memory, like super bonus points, but it's okay if you have to cheat.
Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to have to cheat, but I will give it a shot from memory. So I know number 1 is Futuristic.
Shocker.
Number 2, I believe, is Relator. 3 is Individualization. I believe 4 is Learner. 5, Achiever. 6, Activator.
So
7,
close.
Competition.
So close. Yes. Go on.
7,
You're right.
7 Activator.
Yep.
Okay. 8, Strategic.
Number 10.
Okay. Focus.
Number 9.
And
You skipped 8. And it's the one that gets you in trouble. Just saying from your coach's point of view.
oh. Well, that's why I forgot about that one. Ideation.
Ideation. Yep. Yes. And I'm joking with Ali. I'm very, very fortunate that I get to coach Ali too, right? We work on I mentioned it's a symbiotic relationship between the two of us, and that's true in a multitude of ways. One way is in coaching her. At one point, Ali called me, and she was working with another co-client that we both have. And she said, I'm spinning my wheels because we have an agenda. And in the agenda, we keep coming up with these wonderful, great other ideas. And I know the other client is someone I work with who also has high ideation. So the two of them are just going, right? They are spinning at a high level. And when one of them comes up with an idea, the other one's like, oh, and you know what else we could do? And by the way, and Ali, your Futuristic is so obvious when you're talking about, how we want to move and push, and do that. And then hearing that ideation and where it spins and knowing if I put you in a room with another ideator, you're going to have those wonderful creative times. But if you're trying to stick to an agenda,
Yep.
right? And I'm sure you remember this coaching session when we were working together. We gave you a really powerful tool, which was know that you're there, spin your ideation for, let's say, 2 ideas, and then let some of your other themes take over, right? Think about the achiever, right? And maybe the activator. Be strategic and get back to the rails and say, hey, these are great. We'll jot these down, but let's talk about and let's do the rail side. So there's a very powerful way that I think when you coach me and all the ways that I get great coaching from you, this is some of the things that we do when we're trying to help our clients. So was that Was that a fair assessment of that particular coaching session? Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
100%. Yeah.
and did you find it helpful? Did it work? Is the question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course. I mean, I think ongoing, it's like I use that a lot because I picture, you gave me an analogy at one point too of who's driving the car and who needs to be like actually in the driver's seat, who's in the passenger seat, who's in the back seat, and then who needs to go in the trunk. And
Or
and
be
how
left.
to move through those positions. I use that all the time because
Yeah.
I used to kind of feel a little bit like I don't know, schizophrenic in a way, because there's like this internal, like there's this like little like bossy side of me that's like, we have an agenda, you know, that's my achiever. We have an agenda, and my focus is like, we got to stay focused, like, you know, like let's keep going. And then like inward facing achiever, I think shows up as responsibility sometimes, where I'm like, I need to be accountable to you. And then there's this other side, and especially in that situation where ideation is, you know, playing a part, and relators playing a part, and, you know, and I'm trying to kind of individualize, and they're having fun. And so it used to be more schizophrenic of like, okay, we have to stop now. Like either like now it's all business. I'm not like, we're not here to play anymore. Like, stop it.
Stop that. Stop it. Right.
Or it would go the completely other direction, which is what was happening with that client that you're talking about, where it would be like, oh yeah, let's just sit and chat, and, you know, like, let's go down that rabbit trail, and like, don't know how we arrived here. Oh, and we're, you know, about a half hour over session time. Awesome.
And we've only covered a third of our agenda, right? And but that's still valuable time. I'm not saying that isn't helping that client. It's just, you know, we didn't handle the things we were set to handle. And if success for you looks like handling those things, right, then that comes across as a weakness, and we don't want that to happen for you. We want to make sure focused and intent. And I like to bring that up with you because another way Ali and I work together pretty consistently is when she onboards a new client, we assess them. Ali actually pays us to do an assessment for them. And then we share Ali's assessment with them in a one-on-one meeting and share their assessment with Ali. And what this does is it allows Ali to have a really functional diagram on communicating better with really new clients coming in. Ali, can you touch on that? Maybe talk about how that's worked?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I will definitely be preaching to the choir on this one, but I think what I've learned with strengths is the idea of being able to put a name to something is so powerful. So like Bill, you talk about, you know, you sort of know things like, you know, theoretically, but we help you know them categorically, right? Of there's an inner story going on with every person. And especially when you're in a coaching relationship, or really any working relationship, right? There's a way that they're thinking about the world that, you know, is different from the way that you're thinking about the world. And so what, you know, using strengths, I can now put names to those things, right? Of here's a name of how this person, you know, thinks about the world. Like one of my clients who went through the process, she has high context. So she's very, and it serves her really well, but she's very historical about things, and she has high input as well. And so she is always kind of looking back, and she wants to reference the past in order to make decisions in the present or in the future. And before I had her assessed, I actually knew her years before. She used to drive me a little crazy because I have high futuristic, right? I don't look backwards. And so I had a hard time understanding, like, how come you always, why are you referencing that? That was like 15 years ago. That's unhelpful. Like this is unhelpful. And then when I understood, you know, I could put a name to what it was she was doing, I actually started to see, oh, that's how she processes. And actually it's very valuable to like the situation. So I mean, and I could probably give you a dozen examples where that has been helpful in, you know, even in just like situational coaching, but then definitely for ongoing coaching with clients, because especially like now that we have this shared language, I can stop them and say, hey, so there's your context showing up, right? Like you're a little stuck, right? Because now we're just kind of like talking all about the past. Like maybe let's turn up your analytical here. Like give me some ideas of like if you're using analytical, how can, and so I do a little bit of that coaching just so I can get through some of those hard points.
I
Right.
love what you're
Oh,
saying because I often tell my clients when we use Clifton Strengths, we turn criticism into recognition, right? Because it's all based on the talent that people have. But you're absolutely right. We often have experiences with people that come off across negative, right? Because we're just telling ourselves a story about what's happening. We create a narrative in our head about this person. And so
Yeah.
this frustration you're describing of this person always to the past, it's so frustrating. And then it's hard to tell them to stop without criticizing them. Because if you're like,
Yeah.
hey, you're kind of like focusing too much on the past, let's move forward, that someone hears that and you mean it in a good way, but they often take it as a criticism and it hurts.
Yeah.
And we don't thrive in criticism. So to flip it on
No.
the head, you're saying the same thing, right? You both have this common language and you can say, hey, I see your context kind of running out in front right now. That doesn't come off as a criticism. It's recognizing you have talent, but we know talent and overdrive can get ahead of us. So, hey, I see that context. Let's turn the volume down on that and turn up your analytical. I think it would be more productive. We have now flipped the entire interaction to be uplifting, to say, I see your talent and I want to dig into a different talent.
Yep.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good. So good. And with that client that we were talking about earlier, it wasn't, it's not that he's not getting anything out of it. He's absolutely doing it. But Ali was self-regulating a bit here because she was reaching out saying, I feel like I'm letting the client down. Right. We're not getting to the stuff, right? Ali, again, with high individualization, right? High relator. She understands the emotion that's in the room really well. She feels I've let the client down because we didn't cover everything in this. And I don't know if that's true with the client. He might be like, oh no, this is exactly what I needed. But success for Ali looks like we've got to cover these bases. So I needed help in that, right? And just Ali being self-aware and then being able to walk into a coach or a relationship that is strengths aware, knows the terms and what they mean. She was very quick and easy to be able to say, my ideation and his ideation are killing our meetings. I need help. Let me understand that. And when you can label that and put the name on it and then be able to have a discussion with the client where I'm pretty sure you went in and said, look, we're over ideating these. Let's worry about this, and then be able to talk about the strengths that client has. Turn even a tough discussion into a really positive one.
Well, and I would say not only that, it's the positivity, but it's also more efficient because it's like, how do we say this in fewer words? Right? It's like, here's like, if we both understand these different terms, this is what's happening. Do you agree with that? Okay. Do we both agree that this is what needs to happen? Okay. So now then what can we turn up to like change the way we're showing up in this situation so we both get what we want? And like normally that would be like maybe an hour long or more conversation, right? Because you're like, oh, well, it's just like I see it this way. And well, then you said this, and then I said that, and then you said that, and then you do things like that. And then remember that one time? And it's like, that's, I think, how most conversations go of trying to navigate, well, I saw it this way and you saw it that way. And what I love about strengths is that it just shortens that conversation because you're like, yeah, no, this is what's driving me right now.
Yeah.
And as long as we both have an understanding of what that is and how it shows up, let's pivot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Love
I
it.
love that you not only have been a client but it's like you're on both sides. Like you've really taken it in to where you're like coaching as well. You're a client, you're a partner, you're a coach. You really have, it sounds like, stepped into this leadership capacity where you can manage through coaching to get the desired outcomes for you, but for the client, because that's working with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the power of, working with the strengths coach. I
Stepping
mean,
right in
yeah,
it.
it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, I
I
would
love it.
recommend it
This
for
is such great
anyone.
advertisement. Keep going.
Go, go.
I
Keep
swear I
going.
wasn't paid. This
Well,
is not rigged.
not yet. I
I mean,
mean,
it does, like, yeah, I think in a weird way, it's like I'm so passionate about it. I think people are a little bit skeptical of me sometimes, where they're like, are you just like trying to pitch me to, like get me to work with Bill, or what's this? What is this about? But it's 100% genuine.
well, and I love too, Ali. I love, to be honest, totally open. You pay for it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
the people,
well,
the people that lean into it, or the clients you onboard, you send us, hey, this is what I know. I want to do our basic, and because of our relationship, obviously you get a rate. But the bottom line is, it's money out of your pocket to make your relationship better with them, and that just honors how much they mean to you. And your commitment to them is to, we're going to short cycle what we need to do to be really effective with each other. I'm going to have a tool. We're going to keep using it. And as you can keep having that relationship with them, it's easier to build, easy to have those hard discussions.
yes.
Love that.
Yeah.
And it's been really fruitful for us too, because I've got to meet and do some one-on-ones for some people I wouldn't normally have met. And so it works in multiple ways for us. And if they move on with us, great, right? We're happy to do it. So I love that part.
I would say too, like, just to add to that, like, one of the misconceptions I would say I had about doing the work that I did is I thought that I could keep it as just I'm consulting, right? Or, I'm doing the strategy part, but I'm not a coach. And I think that anytime you're engaging with someone, one-on-one, what I started to see was like, no, Allie, you actually can't keep it all strategy and all business and just let's tackle the problem. Because a lot of the time what I was facing was that the problem wasn't anything tactical. It wasn't that we need a better plan or a better strategy or whatever. It was the mindset. It was whatever the person, was going through internally of like, you're not making forward progress. Wait, you've got all the tools, you've got all the resources, you have the plan. What's going on? Right?
Yeah.
That's where I was stumped. And so I mean, I would argue that, anyone who's in like coaching, consulting, advisory kind of role, like having, strengths on your side to be able to navigate, when you said hard conversations, that's it, because you're not going to be able to get real progress forward unless you have some tools in your belt for that, the emotional side, like the human element. you know?
You know what I just heard, Sarah, is that every consultant in the world should hire a strengths coach to be their partner. That's how I just heard that.
I think you're
Yeah.
right. I think they should. Because just like Ali said, it's the human element that tends to get in our way. And I think if we think about AI and all of the tools that we have out there, right? And all of these people being entrepreneurs like we are, who are out there trying to help people with things, if you have the right time, money, resources, you can get better at whatever it is you're doing, whether you're a leader, you're an entrepreneur, right? Because you can do that. But the thing that's going to keep getting in your way is you.
Yep.
Right? So you got to focus on who you are. What are your talents? How are you operating? Because you can hire the best business strategists. You can use AI and all these services and tools that you can find on the internet and in the world. But if you are not doing them right, if you don't have the right mindset, if you're not approaching the people and your clients or whatever your business is in the right way, you still will not find the ultimate success.
Yeah.
It's that human element that is most fragile, and there is no quick switch. And that's what I think we're hearing is when you take the Clifton Strengths assessment, you are finding out as a human, here are the things that make me tick. Here are those talents and the self-awareness, especially when working with a coach or even someone who has knowledge of it, to be able to say, yeah, this is when you're great. And here's sometimes where your greatness gets in your own way. And now that we know that, we can create goals and plans and strategies to work with you and not against you. You know?
Nice.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that is one of the most powerful things for people. I meet people all the time who are in entrepreneurship or high leadership positions, and they're trying to have success the way a book told them to do, or their friend tried to do it. And that's not always going to work for them because they have a different set of talents.
Yeah.
And so it's like we have to look at your strengths to find the way for you to do it, for you to have success. And there's really no book or resource that can tell you that. It's a lot of internal work.
100%. Yeah. And that's actually, just speaking to that, something that I see that actually breaks my heart a lot is that I see people investing in these tools, and they'll try one thing after the other, and they'll just be like, well, this stuff doesn't work, and they'll buy into, the silver bullet approaches. And if I throw some more money at it, it'll change. And it's like, no, like, because the common denominator is you. It's not necessarily that what you're reading or what you purchased or whatever coaching that you've been doing is not effective. It's the way that you're approaching it. Like, sorry, honest, but the problem is you. And it doesn't matter how good the tool is.
Yeah, Ali tells me this all the time. The problem,
You're the
is you,
problem.
Bill. Wow.
Hashtag you're the problem.
You didn't get that client. You are the problem, Bill. And it's funny. I seem to surround myself by all the women in my life who just want to abuse me, Sarah. So,
Well, you just take it so willingly. It just
I
makes
do.
it so fun.
Big shoulders.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
right.
That's totally
And
fair.
also, the solution is you. Right?
Yes.
Ooh, drop it on him, Allie.
Snap.
Right.
Wow. If she had a big mic, she'd drop it right now. That was pretty
That's
good.
right.
You are the solution, Bill. So
That's
I love
right.
it. So also, do you want to give a shout out to your husband? To your husband's site? Because I was going to ask you about Strengths and Casey.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But do you want to our millions of listeners? Do you want to talk about Casey's site, or do you not want to? Up to you. Do you want to promote? You don't.
Well, I mean, I guess sure. It's there's a lot of layers to it, because it's kind of a funny thing that it's like, whenever anyone asks, well, what does your husband do for a living? I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, this is it, and that ties into the strengths part, right? Where I'm going here,
It
because
really
you guys have a very different business ideal, right?
Yes.
And so I'm just curious how strengths plays out. And you can run vanilla and just talk about your relationship with Casey, or you break it down how you want. I want to hear your side of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's several sides to it. I mean, I would say, so we both did, the strengths, CliftonStrengths, and then we ran the report for my husband, Casey, also. And, and that's helped in a number of ways. I mean, on like our relationship side, and just kind of understanding like the dynamic between the two of us, but then, and then in his business, kind of seeing how his strengths, lead him in what it is that he does. So, but he's a YouTuber, professional YouTuber.
So cool.
Yeah, it's a
Content
thing.
creator.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's
thing.
actually really cool, because I think it'll be kind of cool to kind of explain, like, when I say what, and I don't have his strengths all remembered, I just have some of them, but when you know what his strengths are, it makes a lot of sense. So he has a YouTube channel called eBay Miniature Rescues. And what he does is
I know, right? Hold on.
Like, okay, going now.
eBay
Yeah.
Miniature Rescues. I'm all in.
eBay
Yeah, that's
Miniature
good.
Rescues. And what he does is he's part of a hobby. It's called Warhammer. And it's actually a lot bigger than most people think it is. It's been around since I think the 70s, and it's international, and it's this, really
Look at Sarah. She's all
large,
into it.
Don't
She's
mind me.
looking
I'm
at
just going to be on the internet.
tabletop game. And basically what's at the heart of this tabletop game is that you have to have an army, and an army is made up of a bunch of these little kind of, they're game pieces, but they're, soldiers, or they're monsters, or they're vampires, and there's lots of these different kind of fantasy creatures. And in order to play the game, you have to have your game pieces, your army, painted to a certain level. And so, in order to play, it's a pretty basic level, but you can get pretty deep into the hobby of Warhammer, which is painting these little mini figurines. So these little mini game pieces. And so what he does on his channel is he actually rescues these little game pieces from eBay. And so usually they're very poorly painted, or they're missing a head, or there's something that's just messed up, and he rescues them. And then it's sort of like a trash to treasure sort of thing, where he restores them. And and then by the end, he says, oh, here's, the before, and then here's the after, and he does the whole reveal. And that's what he does.
That is so cool
Yeah,
and so unique.
really
Okay,
cool.
so the strengths of his that you remember, can you tell us? Because I'm just so
Yeah.
sounds to me, it's like this wonderful story of it's such an unusual job. I have to imagine there was a pivot point where he was like, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and it was like this really interesting progression. I don't think it's something that it definitely wasn't something he just woke up and was like, yep, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and it's going to be for this. We have video evidence of that, in fact, where he has his first few videos were just on his phone, and it was literally just hours of him sitting at a desk painting little figurines. No sound, no music.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
riveting.
the evolution is really incredible, actually.
He's come a long way.
He started painting in a closet, and now he's got his own whole big studio. And but yeah, so his themes that are at play, and I'll just share the ones that I remember. But he has Futuristic, like me. He also has Relator, so those ones are pretty easy to remember for me. He has Ideation. And then also Restorative, which is really not a surprise given what
Stunner.
he does.
Yeah. I'm so glad. And I brought it up. I mean, I just tickled it because I love your story of it regarding Casey, because Casey's world is in a little studio, right, aimed at figurines and doing amazing. I've seen a couple of his videos. It's not my world, but when I watch him and I see what he does, it's fascinating to see. And your world is dealing in the big, right, in the outside, and helping big thought ideas and helping people get bigger and bigger at what they do. And his is about doing that, right? And I just, when I see that dichotomy, I'm always curious where strengths are at play, right? How they're stepping in, because you actually have competition, right? You have achiever, and I'm curious, how is there a strength you think that stands out for that difference, that big difference between you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's probably achiever, competition, activator.
Yeah.
So that's the driver side of me. That's like I gotta go places and fast.
Yes.
And he's very good at being very detail oriented, and he likes to go places, but he's way more methodical about it. So he has the futuristic, but he's way more thoughtful and careful about how he moves forward. So he actually, and I joke about this because he has to slow me down and I have to speed him up.
Yeah.
Right.
We help each other that way.
Yeah.
Right.
Differences are
Like,
advantages, right?
Yeah. He's like, okay, good. He can keep pace to where he's like, that's cool. And also take it back a little. He helps
Tone
me
it
kind of
down.
ground things in reality a little bit sometimes. And then sometimes I help to be like, yeah, no, go for it, do it, and I encourage him and push him forward. So
Nice.
yeah.
I love hearing that story. Thank you for sharing that with me and exposing me to Warhammer. I am now curious and will be on the YouTube. I
Yep.
love a good influencer. I'm curious, Ali, for you. Obviously, we're hearing all of these ways your strengths just really illuminate who you are and have created this successful business. When have your strengths turned into a dumpster fire? When have they gotten in
Oh,
your way?
oh,
Yeah.
all the time. I mean, just this morning.
Oh,
But
we get a today example. Oh, I love it.
Boom.
Go.
well, I could probably give you more generalizations, but yeah, I mean, so futuristic is a big problem. A lot of it's great. Yes, it's what's right with me, and also it hijacks my brain all the time. I often, like I was saying before, I move too quickly, and sometimes I will start working on something that's like 20, 30 paces ahead. That is not a right now thing. And I and then I don't realize it. And it seems so important at the time. It seems like, no, this is good because this is where it's going to be and this is where it's going and that's the future. And then I miss like steps 5 through 18.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find it out the hard way, and then I have to go backwards, and then and then that can make me feel discouraged because I'm like, wow, I put in all this effort, and it's there, it's in the future, and how come it's not happening yet? Like,
Yeah.
dang
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. I can totally see that.
Yeah. And that speaks totally towards dynamic partnerships because I do not have futuristic high at all. It's very low for me. So when Ali and I are strategizing and Sarah's calling us at Starbucks, interrupting us, but when we're strategizing and building on things, Ali's setting the tone, right? Or my wife is setting there's where we're going. There's the beacon over there. And because futuristic's so low for me, I'm like, where is it? So while Ali may say I dropped some of the early steps, right? I tend to drop the late ones. So our partnership is really based on Ali sends me a recap of our meetings. She sends me the punch list of things she needs me to do because I'm not thinking when I see that stuff way out there, I'm like, oh, our meeting's in 2 weeks. We're fine, right? And then I'm like, oh, gosh darn it, that time has come because I'm living day to day. I'm that. And Allie's thinking so far in advance. She already knows because she knows my strengths and my weaknesses, but she knows my strengths. She knows how to keep me on point and keep it moving. So I think that speaks really well towards dynamic partnerships and people getting together to make sure we're operating at a really high flow, right? We're operating at that good level and helping each other do that.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just curious. Can you tell us what happened this morning?
Oh yeah, what happened?
I mean, I think that this is almost every morning.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, let's see. So probably more on the achiever side and the focus side. I started working on a project that is like, maybe I need to have it done in 2 weeks. And then realize I didn't get back to a bunch of emails that I needed to get back to like this morning. And then so it just created kind of this domino effect of like, oh yeah, well, crud, I just spent all this time working on this thing that because I was excited about it, right? Like, that is not a right now thing.
And then does
So-
your achiever start to panic? You're like, oh no, now I have these emails and I got to get them done. Otherwise, my day's not satisfied.
Yeah, 100%. Because then I'm like, you just broke the checklist. Like you had a checklist and now it's broken because you went down a rabbit trail of something that doesn't matter right now. And it happens all
Right.
the time. But that's why I think the other side of it's just like massive, like servings of grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
And
I
you
had
have-
to learn for myself.
And you have high relator too, right? So you don't want to let those people down. You know what those emotions are. So when you're seeing those emails piled up, right?
Yeah.
You're looking at it just thinking, oh, I hear it, right? And it's been a joy working with you so long. I can spot the little spins that you get into that, and you've been super helpful in spotting and helping me see the little spin things I do. Ali, I do think, Sarah, when we got on right at the beginning, you said, how do you put up with him? And that was in our pre-show. You won't hear it on this, but that was in the pre-show. But I think Ali's been incredibly graceful, and she knows the minute we get together to have a business meeting, we're going to spend some time talking about the weekend, right? Or the kids, or we're going to do that, because otherwise I can't get rooted in it. And I will really push myself when I'm with Ali to aim strategically in the future. I know I want to do that because it fuels her, right? I know I have high empathy, high relator. I don't want to let her down. So I was missing a piece of paperwork on some homework she asked me to do. So I actually hand typed up some stuff that I thought might fit the paperwork, because I did not want to let her down. And that was, we brought it up at the Starbucks, and I pulled it out, and she goes, well, by the way, I know why you couldn't find that piece of paper. And it was in her bag, the one that she had expected me to do. And I was like, thank God, right? Because I thought I had lost it. So I just thought, well, good. At least I typed up some stuff and they'll fit, and, we're in the right spot. So I get that. I just love that understanding each other through strengths has really helped our relationship, especially our business, but also our private relationship, how we work together. And I know you don't always want to be embarrassed when I'm pointing you out in the backyard with a bunch of clients, but at the same time, my heart's in the right place, and we're trying to work together to make things magic happen. Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's helped me grow a lot, because I think before meeting you and doing strengths, I saw it as like you either get along with some people or you don't. And typically people who were very much like shoot the breeze kind of people, let me like talk about the weekend kind of people. And, I would be like, I don't know how to do that. Let's get to business. So you're wasting time. You're unproductive. You're like, I would put labels on it. Like, that was just how I saw it. And now that I know strengths, and I've come to, know you and your strengths and how you're so high relationship, I'm like, oh, that's what's going on for him. This is productive. This is productive because this is how he's getting his brain in gear. And so, it's now I can, and then, you have Relator. Yeah, Relator's like the one thing that I have, and it's on overdrive when I'm around people with high relationship, but I have it, and I'm like, okay, I can do this, and then I find value now in those conversations, and I've learned how to, just have more grace with myself and with other people because of that. So you've taught me a great deal.
Ooh. I don't want to say, that's a shout out or anything, but that felt pretty good. Just my relationship themes just blossomed when, taught
and
something.
I won't call you out on a party, Bill, but,
you should, you can call me out.
If I get a moment, I'll say, and when I say it, I mean it.
Yes. It is always genuine with Ali. ALIALDEN, AliAlden.com. is where we can find Ali. Again, ALIALDEN.com. Ali, you want to give us your Instagram or your LinkedIn, anything else?
Yeah, sure. You can also find me at Ali Alden Coach. That's my my little tag. So other than that, the website's a great place to look. Yeah,
I love it. So we always throw a fun question out at the end of these. Right. One that we'll see how strengths align for you. So you ready for your fun question?
Sure.
All right. You ready? Let's see. You are suddenly the star of a reality TV show called Strengths in the Wild. What is the first episode about?
Good question. I mean, I think it would kind of be what I was describing earlier, and it would probably be called like Futuristic Hijack. And it would be a whole
Futuristic Hijack.
Yes, it would be a whole episode about how futuristic is hijacking my life, and a bunch of funny, scenarios and hijinks ensue, and I'm having
Nice.
conversations with people about things that, are maybe 5-10 years from now, and they think I'm crazy, and I'm starting projects that will be useful in a little while, but don't have anything to do with right now. And
Good.
I love
Hard
this.
for people
I
to
can
see. Yeah.
envision it opens up. Allie is on this big plot of land. There's nothing there. She's talking to someone. She's saying, and this is where the office will be. And here's how many windows it will have. And someone will say, oh, you're building an office? And you'll be like, no. And they'll be like, did you buy this land? No.
No.
So how far away for you? Well, you're like, well, someday I'm going to have an office,
Yeah.
and it'll be on a plot of land like this. And this is what the building look like. But today I just work at my house.
yep,
I love it.
I'm pretty sure that's happened before. Maybe not on an island, but yeah.
I think we've written the first 10 minutes. It's Allie. Camera pans around Allie on the plot of land. She's laying it out. Up walks a guy. He's like, "Excuse me, you're on my land." Right.
You're like,
Well,
your land
today
for
it's your
now.
land.
Right. Well,
I love
for
that.
now, and he's like, "Well, it's not for sale." She's like, "Oh, yet. Relax."
yet.
Right. So,
I mean,
wow.
a better title would
Futuristic.
be,
What could
like,
be?
Yes, like
Yes.
crazy or futuristic.
Love it. Absolutely
That's
love
exactly
it.
right.
All right. Well, Allie, we always want to thank you for your time. I get so much of your time that I thank you for that too, but it's especially good to have you on this. And since we've worked together so long on putting BDSC and Buildable Strengths coaching together, as well as helping Allie go through some metamorphosis in what she does. I've been super fortunate to be able to work with you and work through that. So I can't thank you enough for all of the help and the time. And I will absolutely say that getting me off the ground was no easy lift, and it would have taken at least years longer if Allie hadn't pushed us or moved us in the right direction. So there's my shout out again for Ali Alden to say, if you're interested in talking with Allie, reach out. And I believe, I'm pretty positive you have a click on your website that says, hey, if you just want to talk about what it looks like, right?
Yep. Yeah, but
Yeah.
just I offer a free intro session. So
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
the conversation. Yep.
Just start it. See
Okay,
what
here I go. I'm going. Sign me up.
Sarah, wait till the drinks have been drank and
Okay.
we're off the pot. Okay, that'll help. So, well, Allie, thank you again. I absolutely love having you on. It is great to have you this early in this podcast series because of all the time we've spent. So it's fun to build on that. And I can't thank you enough for all the help and time. So anything else you want to throw out at us? Anything I didn't do, forget?
No, I would just say back at you. It's definitely both ways, Bill, and I can't express enough how much working with you and strengths coaching has changed everything that I do and who I am and the way I see the world. It's just, I'm so passionate about it. And so,
Excellent.
so I'm excited for you guys and, this podcast. And I can't wait to see this take off and hopefully get in as many, ears as possible.
Right. And funny side note, the last guest we had on asked, how did you guys start this up? And I told the story of running into Sarah at one of our events, and I was giving her the, oh God, my business strategist wants me to start a podcast, and I just right. And Sarah's like, and I want to do it too, but a podcast with the two of us would be a dumpster fire. And we were like, well, but wait a minute, that's not bad. And so here, all three of us on the same podcast, the person pushing us as well as the people that finally got it back together. Sarah, I also always thank you for keeping me on track.
Absolutely. It's like Taylor Swift would say, an invisible string was linking us all, bringing us to this point. I'll just see if I can mention Taylor Swift in every single episode.
I was just going to say, Allie, there's another Taylor Swift reference. There's a lot of Taylor going around on our podcast, apparently. but fair to say we're both big fans, so it's okay. I like it. So awesome. So for everybody listening, we'll be back in another 2 weeks, right? We're going every other week, I believe. Correct,
Yep.
Sarah? Is that right? Okay, we're going to do that. Sarah, anything else for Ali? You want to pry out from her information wise? Anything crazy?
This was just such a pleasure. Thank you for spending your time with us today, Ali.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for joining us on Strengths on Fire. If today's conversation sparked something in you, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. We're here every other week, bringing you fresh insights to fuel your growth and ignite your potential. Remember, your strengths are powerful, so let's keep the fire burning.
And if you're looking to transform your organization through strengths-based strategies and coaching, reach out to Sarah Collins, founder of Collins Collective, or Bill Dipple, founder of Bill Dipple Strengths Coaching. Connect with Sarah at wearecollinsco.com. Follow her on Instagram at SarahCoachCollins, or email her at sarah@wearecollinsco.com, SARAH. You can reach Bill at BillDipple.com, Bill, DIPPEL.com, or on Instagram at Bill Dipple Coach, or email him at bill@BillDipple.com.
Please note the opinions, views, and interpretations of Clifton Strengths expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and the guests. They have not been approved, sanctioned, or endorsed by Gallup in any way.
Until next time, keep your strengths on fire and let's light up what's possible together. Bye, Bill.
Bye, Sarah.